Today I'm going to continue my series on the Science of Mind core concepts. And today we're going to look at the core concept of forgiveness. Just to remind you, core concepts are the basic theories of how the universe works. We're going to look at these ideas, these beliefs, these core concepts, theories from both the universal perspective, the infinite perspective, and from the human perspective or the individual perspective. The universe exists in the eternal now. Each moment is perfect and complete within itself. In this universal harmony, justice without judgment is always automatic. It's an infallible universal principle. In other words, in the moment, it's immediate cause and effect. When they talk about justice without judgment, they're talking that there's a law. That law takes the thought, creates the form. It does not judge what is being created. It simply is a creative process. A planet is created, a planet is destroyed. There's a balance in the universe. And that's the harmony. The harmony in the universe is that there's always thought, form, thought. There's space, there's form. Balance exists, and in the universal, it all exists in the eternal now. And when we're talking about the eternal now, what we mean is at this moment, it's forever. There will only be a moment, but the moment never ends. It's just a different moment, the way our mind perceives it. And that's really the interesting thing as we look about this. When we look at the eternal now, we've got to take ourselves out of the human mind where we see linear time and go into a state of there's only now. The worldly suffering results from our misuse or ignorance of the law. And this automatically ceases when the misuse or ignorance ceases. So we perceive that when we use the law, and we use it most of the time, he says ignorantly, but ignorantly means unconsciously we're using the law to create, and the result of it will change immediately as we change how we use the law. This is called God's forgiveness, but it's simply the working out of an impersonal principle. In other words, there is no being out there that is forgiving you. But you, being an individualized point of consciousness, the second you realize that what you're doing, saying, believing is generating a result that you don't want, you can shift, change what you're saying, thinking, feeling, and doing, and you'll get a different result. The universe does not hold a grudge. It does not hold it against you. The universe, this law, responds to who you are in the moment. It does not care about the past. It's not thinking about what's better for you in the future. Do you see? This is the beauty of life. We don't have to worry about Santa Claus. We don't have to worry about whether we're naughty or nice. All we have to do is realize, learn from the mistake we made and how we misused the law toward that which we seek. Correct course, direct the law to where we want to go, start the process of building our belief, and we will have a whole new experience. Ernest Holmes says, neither the consciousness of spirit nor the laws of the universe hold anything against us. Whenever we turn to them in recognition and acceptance, they immediately flow through us, imparting divine givingness. In other words, there's nothing that's going to hold against us. No one's going to want to punish us. No one's going to feel bad. The only person that feels bad about what you do is you. Other people may, but that's because they're not aware enough to realize that what you do has nothing to do with them. But there is no God power, God presence that's going to hold anything against you. And when we understand this, it's divine givingness. It's divine forgiveness. Because the way the universe works is We always are in the eternal now. We are never being judged by the past. The second we stop bringing the past into the now, the experience of our lives changes. When a group of people can be in the now and forget the past and direct the process differently, the experience of the group changes. But as long as the group is focused on what has happened in the past, they're going to bring that forward and the continuation of that will come. So that's why you want to be careful about who you hang with. You've heard the story about that the level of your wealth can easily be determined by the 5 people you hang around with the most. The level of the type of relationships you have is easily determined by the 5 people you hang around most, because they tend to be the vibrational frequency that's similar to yours. And so if you want to know what your life is probably looking like, look at the people you're hanging with. And if it's not what you want, you got to hang with different people, because chances are the people that are of a different vibrational match that you don't even realize are with you, they're not going to be changing the way you are. Most of the time. It can happen, but a lot of times it doesn't. I'm sitting here to tell you, I have very, very, very few friends that I can say are long-term friends. Not good, not bad. We've just gone in different directions. And that's the way the universe works. Human forgiveness is the process that frees us to live in the eternal now. It is essentially that we wholly forgive ourselves and all others before real spiritual growth can flourish. And when we talk about spiritual growth, we're talking about greater awareness. Human forgiveness is about the process of seeing that our life is in fully balance. So if someone does something to us and we see all the negative things that are happening to us as a result of what they did, we've got to see, how did it benefit us as well? In other words, if someone deliberately hits you and hurts you, you have to be able to say, what good came out of it? The good could simply be, because they hit me, I now move them out of my life sphere. And maybe that's what you needed to do because they were such a mismatch to you that having them in your life was pulling you down emotionally, pulling you down from the ability to be a higher expression of yourself. So then by them hitting you, it forced you to look at the situation and say, I choose not to have you in my life anymore. But too often, if we're not ready to move on, if we're not willing to see that it's a growth opportunity, we keep them in our lives. And we will have that opportunity to let them go over and over and over again. And unfortunately, I see that too often. If I am holding on to old resentments, if there is any real or imagined injury which I have not wholly forgiven, there is an insurmountable block in my path of spiritual progress. Anytime I'm holding on to resentments, real or imagined, I'm slowing down my ability to move forward in becoming more aware and having a greater experience of life. Do you notice that when I said when I am holding on to? Because I am 100% responsible for what I experience. I'm not 100% responsible for what happens to me, but I'm 100% responsible for how I experience it. So if I can let go of my resentments, and sometimes they're real, sometimes they're imagined. How many times are the resentments we create only in our minds? We totally misinterpret something. We've got to be able to stop, to pause, to come into the now, see that life is in balance. And when we see life is in balance, we begin to move forward. To free myself, I must totally and genuinely forgive both myself and those who I believe have injured me. See, if you don't forgive someone else, they own you. because the memory of what they did will linger in you. And every time you think of their image, you're going to pucker up. It's going to bother you and you're not going to feel good. You're going to get that knot in the stomach. And if you don't forgive yourself, you're going to deny your greatness. Realize that through all of your life, you're going to be constantly using the law to learn how to become more aware. And because you're not fully aware, you're going to misuse the law in a direction that you don't want to go in. But the second you realize it, all you have to do is shift course. Don't hold it against yourself when you've made a mistake. Learn and move on. That's forgiveness. I made a mistake. I learn from it. I take all the right actions then, and I move on. Realize that other people who do things that you perceive are done to you, you learn from that. You decide whether or not you want them to still be in your life. What can you get from that experience? You either keep them in your life or you move on from them. That's what you call freedom. You're free to be authentically you, and the authentic you is the one who's alive in the now. It's not one who's alive in the past. The past is not your authentic nature unless you choose it to be. Unforgiveness, holding resentment, is a misuse of spiritual law, a rejection of the oneness of all life. Thus, on the human level, forgiveness appears to be a cosmic requirement for restoration of harmony and growth in human living. Let me break that down for you a little bit. If you're unforgiving, you'll never experience oneness. It's only in that point where true forgiveness has occurred that you'll understand the experience of oneness, the connection with all that is. And that's where we want to live, because that's the truth of where we came from. The universe is always in harmony. Our ego, our mind, and the experience of contrast takes us out of that natural state, and we create this virtual reality where we can either experience pleasure or we can experience pain. And our level of awareness determines whether or not we have more pain or we have more pleasure, or maybe we have more balance. It's not an easy task. I tell people that when you want to do forgiveness work, one of the simple tools that I use is take a piece of paper. On one side of the piece of paper, write down all the negatives about what happened to you. How were you a victim? How were you hurt? And then the other side of the piece of paper, write down how did you benefit from that experience? And you keep writing until you've got them in balance. Not an equal number, but an equal feeling. When you have the two sides, how much pain and what did I learn, are imbalanced, there will be no more emotional charge. When there's no more emotional charge, forgiveness has been accomplished. And that moment, you can experience oneness and be in the now. So we're going to read the We Believe statement in front of you together. I don't ask you to believe it. I ask you to read it with feeling and see how does it resonate within you, and can you believe it? If not, how would you change it? No one can determine your beliefs for you. I'm not certainly that. I'm not a cult leader where I tell you what to believe. I give you ideas so that you can discern what to believe for yourself, because only you know what's right for you. So let's do this together. We believe the ultimate goal of life to be a complete freedom from all discord of every nature, and that goal is sure to be attained by all. In other words, we believe that we can free ourselves from all past pain, and that we have an eternity to do so. And the tools to do that are with every human being. And their mission in life is to do that, to come back into oneness and experience the beauty of harmony, love, joy, peace, and beauty. Think about who is it you need to forgive, and take steps today so that you can live in the now.